What's up, world of old tiki-taki? Progress is slow, but still being made over here on the compound Excursion. Swapped over to a 6.4 sending unit, repinned because it's backwards. So I'm not sure if this is going to work or if it was just too hopeful that it was that simple, but the 6.0 and 6.4 fuel sending units are backwards from each other. Playing around with the voltmeter, and it does appear that it was as simple as a backwards readout between high and low. So did a quick pin swap on this guy, currently in running the 1/2 inch fuel line up to the 6.7 pump. Being on an Excursion, the frame rail is a little bit different, so we did have to get a little tricky. Built a bracket, 1/8 inch, just mild steel, drew it up real quick, cut it on the plasma, tacked on the nuts, threaded the little 1/8 inch plate, but it just didn't have enough meat for my liking, so we threaded that, touched up with just some brown paint underneath. Matches the rust quite nice, but we're gonna hopefully undercoat it at some point. Got that. Currently working on routing the fuel line up to have an idea, because we're not doing a fuel ball delete yet. Probably honestly should just bit the bullet and did it, but anyway, not yet. That will happen later. But the last truck I did, we ended up putting an M14 banjo in here because it had a banjo. This was the threaded one, which does not have the same. That's an M16, so we ordered one of them and a whole lot of fittings. So we're currently working on building our own regulator return kit. If you haven't noticed by now, I like to do things the hard way, and I like to make it myself. I mean, it might be harder, longer, slower, and cost more, but it teaches more along the way. So I'm actually building my own regulator return. Got these fittings here. They are -4, a little bit small, but I just like how they are more protected behind here. So we're gonna run that to our Evil Energy regulator. Still not 100% sure where exactly I'm going to route it. Thinking maybe along the degas bottle. There's another 6.0 in here, just kind of as a show. Now remembering I'm not going to have a full intake because I'm going to have compounds, but thinking we might build a bracket coming off these 3 bolts here. Something like that, and then kicking this back. Not 100% sure on that yet, so we will kind of cross that bridge when we get the body down. We're gonna start with going from -4, adapt it up to -6, and then run some 3/8 push lock. And then ideally, if it all works out the way I think, I'll get it made into some nice braided lines. Or honestly, if it works, I'll probably keep it that way until I have a reason to change it. But get that routed. We are going to switch that from coming out of here down to a 1/2 inch. And we're going to get rid of all the factory lines because we don't need it. We don't need the factory HFCM anymore. Deciding if I'm going to utilize the return setup here on the pump or if we're just going to bypass it. The last 6.7 conversion we did without a regulator return, we just bypassed it. Knowing other guys back in the old days would bypass it as well and return right back into the sump. Still not sure what we're gonna do there, but I figure since I gotta fix the tank anyway, that's 12 millimeter on the 6.4 and up, which is basically half. Half is 13 point whatever. Fun fact, we always kind of argue that is the closest. It's not quite 13 millimeter and half being the same. It's not. 5/16 and 8, 7/16 and 11, they're all pretty close. 13 and half are the furthest off. But anyway, we're still going to be able to crimp on 1/2 inch hose. And I'm just thinking that if I'm going to do that, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea just to splice in right here and utilize it. Still not sure that. So we'll figure that side out. But we're getting there. I'm going to get this heat shielded. This was a ICP repair that was done prior to me, but it works. There's no issue there. I personally like to stagger these so they're not all 3 together, but it's there. We're gonna heat shield that. I'm gonna look through my pile, see if I can't find a more factory heat shield here just to get it out of the way. and then swap the rest of the stuff over we need for the big boosty boy here. So still got a little bit to do. Gotta get some longer bolts so we can come through here and nut that as the added brace up front. Tighten that down. Switch over to the 6/4 banjo bolts, and then trying to figure out how I want to better protect this. I want to try to build a heat shield or just kind of leave it. And I do have some heat tape. I don't know if it actually is here or still at the house from it being delivered, but I got some heat shield stuff that I bought so I could stick that over it. And then also got another turbo blanket just to try to keep some of the heat away from their critical components. This is the heat shield I was working on, and then I had one rogue bend that I bent it the wrong way and just kind of ruined my progress. So just kind of show you what I'm thinking here. Honestly, this is taking too long. It's tying up my lift. I need to get back to getting customer stuff done, and I don't really want this on the lift longer than it needs to. So there might be a few things that ultimately get left off the agenda for another day. But so that's kind of an idea of what we're working on, just to kind of cover that, move some of this stuff here. And then still, it's hard to see it that way, but when it actually is bolted down, there's still, it's tight, but we still have clearance there that keeps the wires from touching. So that's where we are. Converters in, all that fun stuff. Do need to change out the solenoids in there because something tells me the stock trans will not last a very long time with 205s, big compounds, aggressive tuning. I am going to try to be gentle with it. I really do want to get some engines moved over here and figure out how I'm going to make my in-ground dyno not an in-ground dyno. The talk was a trailer. I don't have time. So I'm thinking we'll get old Forky McForks here sorted out, figure out why it's belly aching, and then we will basically make it movable, and we will roll the dyno across here. Getting rid of these two, but that's there. So have to bring the dyno at least into here, do some exhaust stuff because the exhaust is going to be on that side, and shoot it out. But that's down the road. But trying to not blow the Excursion up before I can play with it on the dyno. So that's where we are. If you guys like what you see, let me know. If you have any comments, any insight, if you've messed around with the regulator return and done any of that, let me know your thoughts. So I'm basically just trying to figure out a way to keep you guys entertained while I go ramble on for 5 to 10 minutes at a time and show you guys what I kind of enjoy doing. So a lot of it's the same repeat, as you hear me say all the time. I'm power stroke specialist. I do a ton of 6.0, 6.4, 6.7 stuff. So there's only so many ways I can re-video the same cab off engine jobs. But if there's anything you want to see different, let me know. See you guys tomorrow.